London Marathon is objectively the biggest marathon in the world. Last year, it set the record for the most number of attendees at a single marathon, and this year, it set the record for the most applications for people to run a marathon. It was over 1.1 million people who applied to take part. That's an insane number. It's about 5 times the population of Newcastle, my home city, and a substantial portion of the UK's population in general, which is only sitting around 60 odd million. So a lot of people want to take part in this marathon, which begs the question, what makes London Marathon so special? The answer to that question is essentially that London Marathon is part of the World Marathon Majors series, which includes Tokyo, Berlin, Boston, Chicago, New York City, and as of this year, Sydney Marathon in Australia. The original 6, though, are easily the most prestigious and popular marathons in the world, the best organized and also the most expensive. It's the marathons that all elites are doing circuits of. It's where world records are regularly set. For example, Kipchoge's world record in the marathon was set in Berlin. So they've got the most history, they're the most organized, and that's a massive draw for people who want to run marathons.
Now, before we get into the whats and whys and all the rest of it of the World Marathon Major Series, I want to talk about a personal experience that kind of illustrates the value of this series. So if you know anything about UK accents, you can probably tell I'm from the Northeast. I'm actually from South Shields, which is where the Great North Run finishes, and I'm extremely lucky to have that privilege. My first experience in running was the Great North Run. That was the first time I ever trained for anything and ever did an event. And the truth is, it spoiled me. It absolutely spoiled me because the Great North Run is a prestigious, incredible event. It's the biggest half marathon in the world by attendees. It's also 55 to 60,000 people. This year it was 60,000. And it has an incredible atmosphere. It's very well organized. It attracts elites from around the world and it finishes in my back garden. That's insane. And with that being my first event, obviously I didn't know any better. I thought all events are like this, all races are this buzzing, this well organized, this fun. That is total. Actually, most races are nothing like the Great North Run. And that was very, very well illustrated in subsequent races that I've done. I've had some races that have just been a bit lonely, a bit boring, a bit poorly organized. And then I've had some races that have just been downright chaotic. So for example, in Vietnam, I almost got hit by a motorbike on the course when I did a marathon there in Hanoi. In Singapore, I was doing a race and the lead cyclist went the wrong way. In Malaysia, they didn't even close the roads for a 5K that I did, and you were kind of dodging big 4x4s, because for some reason everyone in Southeast Asia loves 4x4s, while going at 5K sort of VO2 max pace. It was insane. Imagine finishing a 17-odd minute 5K while dodging traffic. Not fun. It makes a good story though. So basically, I'm in this situation where I know what a good race is. I know what a good atmosphere is. I know how a good organized race looks like, but I know that not all races are like this. With the 5K that I talked about and the half marathon in Singapore, it's fine. It's not a big deal. These races are kind of, for me, I wasn't training explicitly for these races, but for that Hanoi marathon, that was my A race. That was a race I had spent 4 months training for. And then when it came to race day, the organization was so bad. The route was dark, it was wet. I mean, I can't blame them for the weather, but everything that could go wrong went wrong. And as a result, I was devastated. I won't lie. I was so disappointed after putting in so much work to show up to this marathon and just not have my expectations met. So I kind of realized at that point that I wasn't going to waste my time running my A races on events that aren't proven. So that Hanoi marathon, I did no research when I found it. Just did a quick Google search and found it and thought, okay, whatever. Shouldn't have did that. I should have kind of found a race with a bit more prestige if I'm going to put in all this time and effort. If it was just a fun run, if it was a B race or a C race, whatever, it doesn't matter. That's not important. But A races that you're kind of putting everything into, training, making sacrifices for, eating well for, all the rest of it, you want to make sure those races are proven, are going to deliver on quality so that you can just show up to the race and give it everything. So that's where the World Major Marathons kind of come into the equation. So at the big 6, Tokyo, Boston, Berlin, Chicago, New York, London. And they are very well organized. The whole premise is that they all share organization tips and try to make the event as good as possible. It's like kind of hitting a certain benchmark of organization. And for a new event like Sydney to join actually requires a great deal of planning and organization. It's kind of like a nation joining the European Union. They have to go through a rigorous process that proves that they are meeting certain standards around human rights and economics and so on. It's the same with the race. They need to prove that they're offering a certain amount of safety, that there aren't cars going to be parked on the road, that they're offering aid stations appropriately and so on. And that's why it takes years to get into the World Marathon Majors. The next two that are going to potentially join are Shanghai and Cape Town, and they've been in that process for a little while now. I heard about Cape Town being in that process like a year and a half ago, so it takes time. So you know that because of that rigid process, only the best of the best races are getting in, right? So you can go there pretty confident that you're going to have a good race. So you've got the original 6 marathons, and then you've got the new ones coming in. And if you run that original 6, you get the 6-star medal. Now, personally, I'm not really into medals. I don't really see the point in a medal for finishing a certain distance, especially if you are already running sort of those distances regularly. But we've got lots of waste and lots of excess production in this world. I just think it's another thing that we don't need, but whatever, that's a whole set tangent. The 6-star medal, however, is a bit of an exception. I mean, the actual requirements to get this medal, even if you just walked every marathon, would be insane. You're talking traveling to 6 different countries to take part in 6 different events. You've got to actually do the marathon each time, and you have to make the time to do the training to actually take, because you're going to train for these, right? So you got to make the time to train for 6 marathons, do the 6 marathons, travel to all the destinations, and be recovered and all the rest of it around it. It's an insanely big commitment. So the 6-star medal is a very exclusive medal, which is a bit of a cult for many people. A lot of people are trying to get this medal, and I'm one of those people. But what I wanted to say is that this medal is, it's also a mark of privilege, I guess, because, like I said, these races in every aspect are prohibitively expensive if you want to do all 6. Traveling to the US 3 times is alone, if you're from Europe or whatever, insanely expensive. Traveling to 6 different countries, no matter where you live, you're going to have to travel internationally, because there's 1 in Japan, there's 2 in Europe, and then there's 3 in the US. And then with the introduction of China, Australia, Cape Town, you're potentially talking, every continent is covered more or less, with the exception of, Antarctica and South America, actually. But five continents are covered. So you're talking an insane amount of travel costs, plus the cost of hotels and being there and all the rest of it. The entry to the races, which, is around $300 a pop. And then the ability to actually take the time off to pay for all this, to pay for the running shoes, to pay for the gear. The costs are immense when you actually add it up over time. And I'm from a Western world with a relatively well-paying job, and I'm extremely grateful for that. But I'm in the minority. I'm in the top 10%, maybe less in the world. I'm in Manila right now, and the majority of people here are not going to ever be able to travel to the US 3 times. So it's a bit of an elitist club, and I totally recognize that. But putting the economics aside, just doing 6 marathons is an insane achievement, and that's why I think the 6-star medal is something to really respect and appreciate if you do get it. And that's why I want to get this medal. It's the only medal that I've actually been interested in. So to summarize, if you're someone who is interested in travel, loves running marathons, and has had the experience that I have of running some less than desirably organized marathons, then the World Marathon Major Series might be a good option for you. It's a bit expensive, certainly requires work and dedication, but it's also an opportunity to put your mind at ease when you're racing. You want to show up on race day and not have to think about anything except giving it 110% on the course. You don't want to have to worry about anything to do with the organization. The thing you're paying for is the luxury of being able to delegate that to someone else. All of that being said, it's not for everyone, and it certainly doesn't replace local races. There are many local races that are fun. That's where you get the most chance of actually competing seriously. If you're a mid-range athlete, you're not going to win Boston if you're your average marathon runner, but you might win a local race. Also, a lot of local races have a lot more novel things that could be fun, and it's a good way to kind of discover a new place. So there's a place for the local race, but the World Major Marathons are something different. And if you have the ability, then something maybe worth considering. My journey is going to start with Chicago this October in a month's time. And the training is not going so well. I'm going to talk about that in a follow-up video if you're interested. But for now, if this has been interesting, let me know why in the comments. If you disagree, I've said some controversial things. If you disagree, please let me know why in the comments. And if you like this sort of thing, running discussions and breakdowns and science and all the rest of it, then please hit the subscribe button.